You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio. Forgive me if my mood isn't typically what you're accustomed to hearing it be. Got a lot of stuff to get into today about Ray Rice, A-Rod, and Josh Norman, and a bevy of other sports issues. But we'll turn the table towards those items a little bit later on, a few minutes or so. Have to start out the show today because while I was on First Take this morning on ESPN2, I got word that my colleague, my friend, a father figure to me, Mr. John Saunders, an individual I called the Godfather, who always looked out for me, passed away last night at the age of 61. All I know at this particular moment, if any additional news comes out, it's because while working on the air, I didn't see anything online or anything like that, but we got word that he was found in his sleep at around 3 o'clock in the morning. He had passed away. He had battled health issues in the past after taking a really bad fall in 2011. I think there was some health-related issue that took place prior to that. But essentially, he was battling through it. Last Friday or so, or last week, he was actually at the National Association for Black Journalism Conference, an event I was supposed to be at, where he and I were supposed to meet up. But we had to do First Take on the road at various training camps in Florham Park, New Jersey for the Jets, and in Latrobe, Pennsylvania for the Steelers, and Richmond, Virginia for the Redskins, and then, of course, in Tampa for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We had to do First Take live from those events, so I was unable to attend the NABJ conference. We were supposed to meet then in a couple of weeks or so. He sounded full of life, very vibrant. Looking forward to this upcoming college football season. He loved his college football, not quite as much as he loved hockey, but nevertheless, he loved his college football. He called a lot of games, did a lot of pregame, postgame shows for ABC, et cetera, et cetera. I'm really at a loss for words. It's hard to put into words what somebody like him means to somebody like me. He was a Canadian and very, very proud of it. He loved hockey just as much as he loved his basketball and football. And if you think about this profession and what it entails, he was an iconic figure that should be revered, not just remembered. He came to ESPN in 1986. One of the originals, arrived here at a time before ESPN had multi-billion-dollar deals with the National Football League, with the National Basketball Association, with Major League Baseball, and beyond. He's one of the individuals largely responsible for building ESPN. He was a pioneer in this business and largely responsible for the great Stuart Scott ever having arrived here. It was why I called him the Godfather. I reserve that title for individuals that are like institutions. I called Peter Gammons when he was here covering baseball for ESPN. I called him the Godfather. I called John Saunders the Godfather. I call guys like Tom Jackson, who just retired after 29 years, and Chris Berman, who's been here since ESPN's inception. I call them the institution. Because when you look at the conglomerate, the giant that ESPN is, it starts somewhere. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of people behind the scenes that make it happen. And they deserve all the credit in the world because without their efforts, ESPN wouldn't be where it is today. but in terms of visible individuals, conspicuous individuals that are largely responsible for uplifting and taking a network from its inception to a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate, John Saunders is one of the originals. Bob Lee's another name that comes to mind. Dick Vitale is another name that comes to mind. My point in saying all of that is saying that when you think about the Chris Bermans and the Tom Jacksons and the Dick Vitales and the Bob Lees, when you think about giants in this industry of sports television who've taken ESPN from its baby steps to the giant that it is, just don't forget the name John Saunders. And when you take into account the fact that so many African Americans have been employed by ESPN, all of us would be remiss in neglecting to extend our deepest and sincerest gratitude to a John Saunders. Because you see, when you are a pioneer, understand what that means, ladies and gentlemen. What it means is that you're the standard bearer. You're the individual upon which things are built. And the rapidity, the quickness with which it elevates usually is contingent not just on your efforts, which need to be great, not just on your production, which needs to be great. It also emanates from your conscience. You see, if John Saunders was just about the business of getting all that he could get while not being concerned about others, demographically, ESPN may not be what it is today, along with the vast array of other networks in this business. Because no matter how many people march and fight and try and strive to bring attention to lack of opportunities, biases, and prejudices and beyond, when you go out there and you perform and you establish a standard under which others can build, that's what makes you great. That's what makes you a pioneer. That's what makes you someone worthy of being remembered in the most celebratory of fashions. That was John Saunders. That was John Saunders for most folks in this business, specifically for African Americans in this business. For me, it goes a little step further. When I think about John Saunders, I think about how I was on NBA shoot-around when it was in Times Square in New York City with my man Greg Anthony and my boy Tim Legler. John Saunders was the host. I think about the jokester that hid in some back room pretending, working in concert with my producer, Mike McQuaid, pretending that he wasn't going to make it in time to host NBA shoot-around. So I, a novice, straight from the Philadelphia Inquirer, was going to have to host the damn show myself when I never hosted anything in my life. I think about that jokester. I think about how he tried to be the Mac, even though he had his lovely wife Wanda and his two daughters, Aaliyah and Jenner. I think about the John Saunders that rolled around in a coupe Bentley thinking that he was the Mac and literally playing the music Return of the Mac and knew more rap music than I did. I think about when Ron Artest, who would later become known as Meta World Peace, jumped into the stands at the Palace at Auburn Hills in Detroit, Michigan. And it was John Saunders hosting the show that night. And despite the fact that he was the consummate professional, wasn't shy about hiding his emotions about the cup of water being thrown on Ron Artest to instigate the matter before catching himself and saying, oh, damn, I shouldn't say all of that. I think about the guy that worked behind the scenes to ensure that individuals striving for opportunities were being given legitimate consideration by this network, ESPN, and other networks as well. He could host anything. He could do play-by-play. Didn't matter whether it was college football, pro football, college basketball, pro basketball, Stanley Cup finals, Major League Baseball, sports reporters. It didn't matter. He could simply do it all. And religiously, year after year after year, labeled one of the most likable figures in our industry. I remember one time when people looked at me and said, yeah, Stephen A's the man, but he ain't that likable. And John Saunders said, don't worry about being liked. Concentrate on being the best professional that you could possibly be. Be thorough at it. And somehow, some way, they will learn to like you. Even if it's for different reasons than you prefer. I remember all of those things. And I remember him saying it's all right to be upset sometimes when things don't go your way. Being upset is one thing. Being paralyzed by it is another. You're alive and living and breathing and walking and running for a reason. Keep on moving. Never let anything hold you back. That was the John Saunders that I knew. That was the John Saunders that I cherished. That is the John Saunders that I owe so much to. That is the John Saunders that has me very, very sad today. John Saunders, colleague, friend, mentor, advisor, father figure, consummate, ultra professional, pioneer, gone at age 61. Love you, bro. Your calls and more. Up next with Stephen A. Sirius XM. Mad Dog Sports Radio. Channel 82. Smith Show, Sirius XM, Mad Dog Sports Radio. 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. That's 888-623-3646. Yeah, I got a lot on my mind today with the passing of my friend John Saunders from ESPN. 30 years he was here, since 1986. But as he would tell me, you got a job to do. Go out there and do it. This is a sports talk show. I welcome any calls about John Saunders, but also got an obligation to get into this other stuff, which seems a bit frivolous right now in light of what has transpired today with his passing. But nevertheless, I'm obligated to talk about it, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Ray Rice, formerly of the Baltimore Ravens, ostracized from the National Football League in some people's minds because there was a video of him striking his then fiance, now wife, punching her in the face, snapping her head. Head hit the bar of a hotel elevator. She went to the ground, rendered relatively unconscious, dragged halfway out the elevator by Ray Rice. Did not look very good. There's video showing all of this. And then after that, in the aftermath of it all, he ultimately was banned from the league, essentially. I mean, you can say it any way you want to, but the reality is, even though he has the license to come back, nobody wants to touch him with a 10-foot pole. Some would credit the 3.1 yards per carry he averaged in his last year in the NFL in 2013. He was 27 at the time. They'll look at his diminished skills. They'll project what he can and cannot do and say simply due to the PR that it would bring with it, bringing him on board simply isn't worth the public relations risk. Ray Rice was asked about all of these things on Mike and Mike's morning radio show today. Here is what he had to say Listen up.
I looked at it as if I truly worried about everybody else getting a second chance, I know I would have went into a very dark place. So, just being totally honest with you, I just kept working, I kept grinding, I just kept doing what I was going to do. I kept bettering myself as a person. I kept taking care of what I had to do with my family, and I kept persevering through them tough times because I knew that I had to, I couldn't bail on my family. The people who love me most were still looking at me and looking up to me to keep going. So I really didn't pay too much attention to other guys getting second chances. One thing I did was take full ownership of what I did and understood why I'm not getting a second chance. And I understand that. I'm a big boy, and I'm not sitting up here being naive about the situation. The situation was a horrible deal. But if you look at my life from where it was before the incident, and you look at everything I did after, this is where I can say you can take one guy and look at a situation who did almost everything right before everything, but did everything right after and tried to make the best out of a situation, then, that's me, and I don't want to say I'm one and done because I don't think it's over yet, but I'm just yet to be the guy to get the second chance. So, but my second chance is already, it's beautiful. Like I said, I'm not in trouble. I'm making difference in kids' lives. I'm going around telling a real story about being a guy who lived the dream, who also lived the nightmare. I got a chance to taste my own words. I used to preach to kids, 1 or 2 bad decisions, your dream can become a nightmare. Well, I'm in a very unique situation because I lived both of them. And more importantly than playing football, what I can bring to a locker room will be bigger than the game to a football, to a young guy. I've been through it all, but I also know I have a lot of game left.
Let me say this. Listening to Ray Rice just now, listening to him earlier on First Take, listening to him this morning on Mike and Mike, I don't disagree with most of what Ray Rice said. The domestic violence incident was tragic. It ruined the life that he knew. His life has never nor will ever be the same after that incident. It was an egregious error in judgment on his part. There is no excuse to be putting your hands on a woman. He clearly didn't think about that. And as a result, he's had to pay a hefty price. But it is clear to me a few things. Number one, he deserves a second chance because the level of contrition that he has put forth, he made a mistake. He's been trying to make up for it. He's been trying to do so many things to make things better. He's been incredibly sincere. It's been comparable to what Michael Vick did with in the aftermath of the whole dogfighting scandal. When Michael Vick, worked with the Humane Society and other animal rights activists to bring attention to animal violence, the cruelty against animals. Ray Rice has been trying to do the same thing when it comes to the issue of domestic violence. As sad as it is that it exists to begin with, because we all know it should not. If there's one thing that you could take from it is that the issue of domestic violence has been in the forefront of our conscience and our minds since the day that video surfaced regarding Ray Rice. The NFL has had to step up its game, NBA, Major League Baseball, etc. So there's good that's come from that, and there's more good that can come from it. So by virtue of that reality, combined with the fact that Ray Rice wants to assist in that effort, combined with the fact that there are numerous individuals who have been accused, in some cases flat out guilty of domestic violence, still finding a way to have on an NFL uniform, one would surmise, why can't Ray Rice? So in that regard, I want to say that I am in support of Ray Rice getting a second chance. Here's where that opportunity leaves the building. Ray Rice at no time in his career, even when he was young and healthy, could never be confused as being Adrian Peterson or Le'Veon Bell or anybody like that. Ray Rice was really, really solid. Ray Rice was, nor is, any kind of superstar. So where that leaves, that automatically diminishes the number of opportunities that may potentially be available to you. But here's what makes it worse. And this is where I hold Ray Rice completely culpable, outside of hitting his ex-fiancée, of course, who's now his wife. Ray Rice dimed out Steve Bisciotti, the owner for the Baltimore Ravens. He didn't have to open his mouth talking about he told everybody everything. Because remember, the initial penalty handed down by Roger Goodell was 2 games. And so what they did was, when the heat came their way, they tried to pretend that Ray Rice didn't give them all the facts. That was why they gave him the 2-game suspension, or that's why they spoke up on his behalf, et cetera, et cetera. Whether it was Steve Bisciotti, whether it was Ozzie Newsome, the GM, or whomever. They tried to make that case. And the NFL was willing to help in that quest because they didn't want to come across as an organization that knew all the gory details of what Ray Rice had done and still elected to only give him a 2-game suspension. Not to mention the fact that the wife, Shanae, practically begged the commissioner to forgive him and give him a second chance because she didn't want her husband to lose his career. But Ray Rice felt the need to stick out his chest and to make sure he articulated to everyone, I told the truth, the whole truth. They knew everything, blah, 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 blah. So you essentially threw your billionaire owner under the bus, who was texting you and telling you you're a Baltimore Raven for life. Let's get through this and I will help you. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't mean to sound crass. I don't mean to sound insensitive or anything like that, because we all understand how wrong Ray Rice was. But what I'm saying is, if you know you've made that kind of mistake and you're just 27 years of age and a billionaire is willing to help you, and all you have to do in return is shut up, why wouldn't you? Because Ray Rice prioritized making sure that everybody knew that he told Roger Goodell and Steve Bisciotti and Ozzie Newsome and them the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help him God, even though he wasn't sworn under oath at that particular moment when he spoke to them. He felt it important to make sure that everybody knew what he told them instead of simply keeping his mouth shut, paying his penance, and then he could have gone back to the Baltimore Ravens. Let me be very, very clear. Does anybody notice what's going on in the streets of Baltimore? That old Freddie Gray situation? Unarmed black man cuffed, thrown in the back of a police van, ends up dead. And officers get acquitted. I'm not casting any aspersions or guilt or anything like that because I don't know all the details. I'm just telling you that. Ladies and gentlemen, how do you think the streets of Baltimore are these days? How do you think people are feeling? Do you know anything about Ray Rice? Do you have any idea how much he could have helped that situation? Melo ain't the only one that's been down there. Ray Lewis wasn't the only one that went down there. Do you know who could have been there? Could have been Ray Rice. I'm not sure whether he was there or not, but Ray Rice could have helped. He is that adored and revered in that community. Don't you remember that in the aftermath of hitting his then fiancée, now wife, that it were women who were outside the stadium wearing Ray Rice jerseys asking for him to be allowed back? They didn't sit there and say it was no big deal. They didn't sit there and say that he shouldn't be reprimanded. What they were saying is that his good works, his good deeds far outweigh the bad, And if there was a community that would embrace giving him a second chance, it would be the Baltimore, Maryland community. If I know this and you know this, Ray Rice knew this, why couldn't you shut the hell up? Instead of throwing Steve Bisciotti out under the bus, who was only trying to help you. You're averaging 3.1 yards a carry. Justin Forsett had come on the scene. He was looking pretty damn impressive. It wasn't like they needed you. They had love for you and wanted to help you. And instead, you wanted to stick out your chest and tell everybody you told them the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God, thereby diming them out, with one of them being the billionaire owner, the other being one of the most revered executives in GM Ozzie Newsome the game of football has ever seen. All you had to do was keep quiet. In my opinion, Ray Rice would be in the National Football League playing for the Baltimore Ravens right now, or at least working for them in some capacity right now, if he had simply kept his mouth shut. But he didn't want to. And because of that, here we are. 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. That's 888-623-3646. I want to know, do you think Ray Rice should be given a second chance? If so, why? I want to know from the ladies, the women in this world out there listening to this show. Are you against Ray Rice receiving a second chance? If so, please explain. If you are not against it, please explain that too. 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. That's 888-623-3646. We're talking Ray Rice. We're talking my man John Saunders. We'll get into Art Briles, the former coach at Baylor, along with Alex Rodriguez in a little while as well. So stick around. You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show, Sirius XM, Mad Dog Sports Radio, Channel 82. 6 is 888-623-3646. Let's go to Lynn in North Carolina. You're live with Stephen A. on Mad Dog. Lynn, good afternoon.
What's going on, Stephen A? It's your man in North Carolina. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I've had better days, but I'll be all right, man. What's going on?
I know the feeling, man. I got a lot I want to say, but I'm going to get to it real quick. So just hold on to me for a little bit, bro. First off, I started watching ESPN. It was John Saunders, Chris Berman, Tom Jackson, and Stuart Scott. Those are the guys and now they're pretty much gone off of the ESPN. John Saunders was my favorite, though, because he'd tell it to you straight, but Stuart Scott would make you laugh. And I loved him. I loved it. I send all my prayers out to you, his family, and everyone who loved that man. He was a great sportscaster. Having said that, I know God is making a good team up there. He's got Stuart, now he's got John.
Yeah.
So he's going to be on his sports. God's going to be on his sports because he's got two of the best reporters that I've ever seen.
You're right about
that. But I disagree with you on something that you said about Ray Rice.
Sure.
2 points.
Sure.
One, I thought Ray was a superstar. On the level of Adrian Peterson, no. But that year that he led the league in carries and rushes, Ray Rice was a beast, man. He was unstoppable.
Well, I guess what I'm talking about is the latter 2 years, particularly the last year, because prior to that, he always averaged more than 4 yards a carry. So that's obviously very respectable. He went down to 3.1. He revealed this morning that he was injured, which is why his averages were so low. But here's the amazing thing. It's been damn near 3 years since he's played. It's the first time I heard that.
Well, no, Stephen A. He had that hip injury, and he was held back from that hip injury. Not to mention that last year he played, their offensive line was not that good.
Okay.
I mean, my man Michael Oher, he was hampered with a daggone.
Well, Lynn, let me chime in. Let me say this. I believe that if Ray Rice, first of all, I believe he deserves a second chance. Let me be clear about that.
Yes, sir.
Secondly, I believe that at the very least you could bring him into camp. He shouldn't be.
Thank you.
He deserves a look. But I will add this. While I believe practically every team is holding out on him because they don't want the publicity, I think in the case of the Baltimore Ravens, that was the exception. And he made a huge mistake by feeling the need to open his mouth against Bisciotti at that particular time.
Well, that was my last point I was going to get to.
Sure.
Stephen A., have you ever been in a situation where you panic and you cover your butt?
Yes.
I
did with my mama. Not the public. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
I do it all the time.
There you go. And I'm quite sure when I get married someday, I'm going to try to cover my butt with my wife quite often. I mean, she wants you home at 7:00. She wants you there for dinner. She don't want you watching the games and stuff like that. I'm going to be a pain in the neck. I'm quite sure. The flip side to it, however, is that what you're missing, Lynn, is that, again, it's not about why he did it. It's about the fact that he did do it, which clearly Bisciotti didn't appreciate, because this is a man that was talking about how Ray Rice was going to be a Raven for life. And then you made that mistake. So, again, it's about Bisciotti being forgiven enough to give him another opportunity, because I think that's the best place for Ray Rice to go.
I agree with you, but I got two other places.
Hurry up, go.
Indianapolis,
mm-hmm.
and Pittsburgh. Because
no way, no way on earth, because both places are going to have a problem PR-wise.
But you have a strong coach in Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. We know when D'Angelo, and I love D'Angelo, when he was here in Carolina, he had them issues with his ankles or his knees or whatever. Give him a break, and let's see what Ray Rice got. If he's got something left in the tank, give me something.
I got to go. I appreciate the call in, but you got to remember, it's not about his skills, and it's not about what Tomlin handles, because he's not going to get bothered in the locker room. It's the fact that the attention of the nation is going to be on the Pittsburgh Steelers, but not about football. And the Rooneys, in all likelihood, are not going to want that. That's the issue, and that's what cannot be ignored. Let's go to Tom in South Dakota. You're live at Stephen A. on Mad Dog. Good afternoon, Tom. How are you?
Stephen A., I just want to let you know that you are a man who I follow through First Take, and I try to catch all of your shows when I'm doing long-distance driving for work. But I wanted to tell you, and I'm going to make this short and sweet, I'm going to try and put a smile on your face. You are the luckiest man alive right now. You have the two best guardian angels on your right shoulder, Stuart Scott and John Saunders. And I just wanted to say that out of love and respect.
Well, you pulled it off. You did put a smile on my face with that, Tom. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate the call, and call back anytime. All right, buddy?
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. Appreciate the love. Let's go to Brandon in South Carolina. You're live at Stephen A. on Mad Dog. Brandon, good afternoon.
Oh, what's good, Stephen A.? How you doing, man? First time calling.
I'm all right. Better days, but, I'm okay, man. What's going on with you?
Oh, yeah, I know that's obvious. I just wanted to, obviously send my condolences to John Saunders and his family and everybody.
Appreciate
that. And see, I was born in 94. I'm 21. Even I know what it's like waking up and watching Outside the Line sports report. That was like your precursor, your appetizer to, Sunday football before Chris Berman and all them started going.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Those Sunday mornings were special, wasn't it? And by the way, I'm glad you reminded me. I'm almost ashamed I didn't bring this up earlier, Brandon. It's amazing to me who else could have filled Dick Schaap's shoes, the great Dick Schaap, his shoes on sports reporters. He was the former host, wasn't it? I mean, there's only one man that could have succeeded him. And maintain the several. I mean, listen, I David Gregory and all of these other guys are absolutely phenomenal. But when Tim Russert passed away unexpectedly, Meet the Press was just never the same and never will be the same, it appears, as good as they may be. Chuck Todd, I like him too. But there's only one Tim Russert. But Dick Schaap, as phenomenal as he was, and my God, does this industry still miss him to this day. I mean, when John Saunders took over, you found yourself looking at sports reporters and saying, who else would be suited to do that job? It had to be John Saunders.
Yeah, man, he did a fantastic job. And like I said, my condolences go out to his family, and I hope everything's good.
Yeah.
But I wanted to touch on the Ray Rice situation.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I really feel like, as far as Ray Rice, I agree with you. I think he deserves a second chance, and he showed the contrition and remorse as far as his actions, that were devastating. And you should never put your hands on no woman or anybody. But I feel like that's the obvious reason. We understand that. But I feel like the convenient excuse for the NFL and some people who possibly thought about touching him, in the past year or so, and, giving him a chance to put them on the team, I feel like their convenient excuse is that old running back narrative that, once you get about 27, 28, the wheels start to tread and the tires start to get a little flat. And I feel like Ray Rice, he had a bad season. As one of the previous callers mentioned, he had that hip. But this man was a two-time second-team All-Pro. Mm-hmm. And like you said, he wasn't no Adrian Peterson or nothing like that. But one of those years is when Adrian Peterson was in front of him. He was a first-team All-Pro. That was his 2,000-yard season. And the other year when he was a second-team All-Pro, Chris Johnson was in front of him. That was his 2,000-yard season. Only point I'm trying to make is that I don't really appreciate the convenient excuse that they have for running backs. Because like you said, when Le'Veon Bell turned 27 or Todd Gurley turned 27, ain't nobody going to be like, boy, that Todd Gurley, we might not give him another contract. It's time to get rid of him because, they're premier talents. And Ray Rice, he's a level right below that.
Well, listen, you can sit there and talk about you don't want to hear the convenient excuse, but the excuse coupled with the inevitability of bad PR is what the teams have a problem with. It's not like it's just that. It's the bad PR that they're mostly concerned about because they believe it's going to affect their bottom line. Let's look at it this way, okay? You have a job. Let's just say, for example, you get paid $100,000 a year, right? But the negative publicity you bring to the company you represent costs them about $200,000 a year, whether it's in advertising and sponsorships or something else. Then that means it costs them more money than you're deemed worthy. And as a result, that is the epitome, the walking definition of a liability. And that's why when I talk to people, I always talk to them about making sure you're an asset. Because when you're an asset, that means that figurative plus symbol gets attached to your name. And when that happens, people will make room for you in most situations. It's the only reason why Greg Hardy got the job with the Cowboys. But the problem is that once he didn't have but so many sacks in so many games with the Dallas Cowboys, and you couple that with the distraction that he was, not just because of the domestic violence incident, but because of his behavior in the locker room, his alleged tardiness, his transgressions on the football field with the histrionics going in the special teams huddle, etc., etc. Suddenly, that plus sign evaporated. And as a result, it wasn't worth it for them to keep him around. And that is what we have to talk about here with Ray Rice.
Yeah, and I agree with you with the point as far as the bad PR and affecting the bottom dollar and all that. I just, and he made a terrible decision. It's just, to me, he was a good enough player to where just you can't say his whole career or he was on a downside based off one season. I feel like that's just a convenient excuse for running backs. And even if he didn't make that situation, I just feel like, running backs, they're starting to get a little short.
If you give a team a reason to get rid of you in the NFL, most often they will. That is the reality. I got to run, Brandon. I appreciate the call. 888 Mad Dog 6. That's 888-623-3646. More of your phone calls in a minute with Stephen A. Minutes past hour number one. Back here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio. Antonio Pierce, former Super Bowl champion with the New York Giants, former member of the Washington Redskins. He'll be on with us at the top of the hour number two. Looking forward to talking to him. Back to the phones we go at 888 Mad Dog 6. That's 888-623-3646. Let's go to April in Georgia. You're live with Stephen A. on Mad Dog. April, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Stephen. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for calling. What's
All
up?
right. I just want to chime in on the Ray Rice. I don't think he should be given a second chance simply because he's abusive. And you know that because he punched her. And dealing with abusive women, you don't ever just start off punching. That's not something that happens. Like, this is like progression. And he flat out
forgive me. Hold on, April. Forgive me for asking this question. How do you know that? I've always been
because I've done, I did a hotline thing. I'm a social worker, and I've done hotline with women of abuse.
Okay.
And it starts off with a push, a little slap. That was a punch. So he's obviously been doing that, okay? That's number one. That's just my opinion. Okay. Number two, I'm a New York fan. I'm from New York. I'm from Manhattan. I'm a Knicks fan. I just want to know how you think they're going to do this year.
New York Knicks will make the playoffs, then they'll go home. Possibly make it to the second round. I think they've got an outside shot to make the Eastern Conference Finals because I think they can compete if they stay healthy. They can compete with Boston. They can compete with Toronto. Nobody's beating Cleveland, but the Knicks have a chance to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. But I think Boston and Toronto would be favorites over them to advance that far. But
if they can stay healthy.
Yes, but the Knicks will definitely make the playoffs if they stay healthy.
All right, and tell Pierce I said, hey, I'm a Giants fan. Thanks for taking my call, Stephen A.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Let's go to Will in New Orleans. You're live with Stephen A. on Mad Dog. What's up, Will?
Hey, what's going on, Stephen A?
All right, my man.
Hey, I just want to talk about John Saunders, and I heard your caller, Brandon, earlier. I'm 32 years old, man, and been a lot of people at ESPN that raised me, from Stuart Scott to, 12, 13 years old. I mean, even you, Stephen A., you've raised me. You're going to raise my little son. I got a 7-year-old son. He watches you all day, and it's just sad that everybody that you grow up on TV watching with different platforms and everything that they're gone. So I just wanted to send my condolences and thank you, man. And you and John Saunders, Mike Tirico, Kirk Herbstreit, you guys have raised me, man. So I just appreciate that, man.
I appreciate it, Will. Thank you for the call. Thank you so much. Sometimes it helps to be reminded, when somebody calls you up and tells you their kids are watching you, you're raising their kids, etc. It just reminds you of how impactful being in this industry can be, especially when you strive to do things the right way, like John Saunders always did. Let's go to Chad in Colorado. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Chad? Good afternoon.
Hey, Stephen A. I want to say, first-time caller on your show. I've been a long-time fan. And I really appreciated your monologue this morning. As a previous caller stated, I grew up watching John Saunders. He helped transcend the world of sports journalism and made it possible for you to exist in the sports journalism world today. And for that, he definitely will be missed. God rest his soul, and my condolences go out to everyone that loved the man and is affected by his loss today.
Thank you, Chad.
No problem. I also want to touch on the Ray Rice situation.
Go ahead.
I was on a couple of weeks ago and made the statement that I don't love the act, but you condemn the sin, not the sinner. From all appearance, he has been very contrite since the incident occurred. He's done everything right in the public, has become an advocate against domestic violence, and I believe he at least deserves the opportunity to show what skill he has remaining. And has the opportunity to possibly be a positive influence in somebody's locker room and in somebody's community as an advocate against domestic violence, which is what he's been blackballed for. Just want to hear your take on that.
I totally agree that he showed the appropriate level of contrition where he deserves a second chance. And I don't think that teams should be as concerned with PR as I know them to be. But it doesn't erase the fact that they are concerned. And again, they're measuring their potential loss in advertisers and sponsors to what he would cost. Make no mistake about it. You've got teams that sit back and they think about those things and they measure the pros and cons of each individual that's on their squad. That's how they look at things and they move forward. And so I think that when it comes to Ray Rice, don't think for a second your PR department or your advertising department or somebody like that hasn't intervened and said, this might not be in the best interest of the company to have him in this position. Don't doubt that for 1 second, because I definitely think that plays a role. Appreciate the call. Let's go to Angelo in Atlanta. You're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Angelo, go ahead.
Hey, Stephen, sending my condolences to the ESPN family. I think Ray Rice should be reinstated. I was just thinking, several years ago, we had two guys in the NFL that killed someone, Leonard Little and Dante Stallworth.
Yep.
And I don't see how they can be playing in the NFL, and they did the ultimate thing of killing someone, not condoning what Ray Rice did, but that's the ultimate.
Well, you're right in terms of the ultimate outcome, but the reality is that as sad as it is to say, believe it or not, the reason why people would feel the way that you feel is because of the outcome, meaning somebody actually died. But when somebody is drunk and they're behind the wheel of a car, people are going to sit there and say they were inebriated. It wasn't their intent to harm somebody or whatever the case may be. Whereas with domestic violence, you absolutely did intend to harm someone. And I don't think that's an excuse. I totally agree with you, Angelo, but that's how people feel.
Okay, man. All right. Thank you, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the call. Antonio Pierce for the New York Giants is up next with hour number 2, formerly a champion with the New York Giants, played for the Washington Redskins as well, now an NFL analyst for yours truly, ESPN. This is the Stephen A. Smith Show on Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio. Hour number 2 coming your way in a minute. The Stephen A. Smith Show here with you until the top of the 3 o'clock hour when I pass it off to the namesake for the show, Christopher Mad Dog Russo's afternoon drive show right here on Sirius XM. Mad Dog Sports Radio. My honor and privilege to have my next guest on the line, NFL analyst for ESPN, Super Bowl champion with the New York Giants, played for the Redskins as well. Premier linebacker in the game, the one and only Antonio Pierce. What's going on, man? How are you?
How you doing?
Can you hear me, Antonio?
I got you. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, you were going in and out. Yeah, you were going in and out. Let's get to a couple of football items. Obviously, the news of the day on the NFL side is Ray Rice. He was on Mike and Mike's morning radio show earlier today talking about why he deserved a second chance, etc. Did you hear that sound? Because I'll play it for you again if you need to.
Yeah, I heard it.
You heard it already? Antonio, we'll wait until Antonio Pierce gets a clearer signal. We'll definitely do that. A few other items to get to at 888 Mad Dog 688-623-3646. We'll wait for Antonio Pierce to call back any second now. A couple of other things that I wanted to get to. Josh Norman for the Washington Redskins. Now, Josh Norman signed a 5-year, $75 million extension, or a new contract rather, with the Washington Redskins. $50 million in guaranteed dollars. Joked around about how he took a television deal and said it was no big deal. Joked around taking it without the Redskins knowing. He later clarified that, of course, they knew because they had to approve it. What I said to my guy, Max Kellerman, on First Take is that, of course, Josh Norman could do what he wants to do. Of course, those are the kind of things that NFL players should try and do to some degree. But it's like if you're going to a new team, a new city with a new contract, and you haven't proven yourself, it might be a dicey situation for you. I'll talk to Antonio Pierce about that in just a few minutes. But I wanted to get back to him now to talk about Ray Rice and listening to Ray Rice this morning. Antonio, talk to me about what thoughts, what emotions went through your mind listening to Ray Rice, and how do you feel about whether or not he deserves a second chance?
Well, the thing about it, first of all, it's a personal matter that was brought to the public's eye. I think what Ray Rice did was own up to it. He's paid his price. I mean, he's went through everything that you need to go through. And I think when you listen to him, you hear the sincerity of what he wants to do and how he wants to make the awareness there and let everybody know about domestic violence and how, he can be that example, right? And that's not probably the route that he thought he would go in his second career or his second life of being a football player. But sometimes there's different things that happen to you that you have to be present to others to make people aware of the situation. And I think when you look at Ray Rice now, right, you talk about the production on the field, that has not been there the last few years when he played. And you look at the National Football League today, and it's funny even watching the Hard Knocks deal yesterday with the Rams. What you saw was a very young locker room, young environment in the National Football League where when I was a rookie, what I learned from was the guys before me, the Bruce Smiths, the Deion Sanders, Mark Carriers, Kajana Carters, guys who played in the league for a long time, Darryl Greens, and I learned their life lessons. And that made me a better person, a better football player on and off the field. And I think at times we lose that sense of connection within the locker room because owners, you're talking about the youth and you're talking about getting the guy, the younger, the hotter guy in his prime, but you need that veteran presence who might not light it up statistically, but it's what he does for your locker room, what he does for your team. And those players on that team to make you go forward and be a winning organization.
So is that your way of saying that Ray Rice should be in any locker room? Or in my opinion, the ideal place would have been for him to be in Baltimore, but he opened his mouth sort of swearing he told the truth about everything and sort of donned the owner out, and that ruined his chances. That's the way I view it. What about you?
Yeah, I don't think Baltimore was a place. I think what it is, he probably needed to go to an organization that had somebody familiar with Ray Rice, the person, right? Before you had any kind of cloud or thoughts of him, of what happened after the fact, but you knew Ray Rice sincerely. And there's a lot of teams out there that have coaches that he's played for. I don't know which team. I know it had to be a strong locker room. It has to start with ownership. I always say when you bring in a guy that comes with either baggage or off-the-field issues in the past that can create some kind of disturbance in your locker room, there's got to be strong ownership up top. And then there has to be a good head coach. And there's a lot of those guys. In Pittsburgh, what's going on there? You got Le'Veon Bell. I think that's a great locker room to put a guy like that in there where he can learn and be a mentor.
But then why do you believe nobody has given him a chance yet? I think it's clearly about the domestic violence situation. I think it's clearly a PR issue. Antonio, you're sounding like they're not giving him that chance strictly because they saw a fall off from 3 years ago.
No, I agree with you. I think it's both. I think it is a domestic violence. You don't want that distraction. And you look at what the production was his last 2 years in the National Football League. And at the end of the day, that's what it really should be about. And then again, that's why it's going to take a strong owner to come in there and say, hey, I'm willing to take a chance on Ray Rice. But I think at this time, you look at the age, you're right there at 30 years old. Let's be honest. At some point, you're going to have to move on and realize that it was a mistake that pretty much ended your career. Where you probably would have had other opportunities if that didn't come about.
Antonio Pierce right here with Stephen A. Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio. Another person that I wanted to talk about, obviously not anything nearly as serious as Ray Rice, was Josh Norman. Signed 5 years, $75 million deal, $50 million in guaranteed dollars. I heard your comments earlier on Sports Center in the 12 noon hour, Antonio Pierce, and I respectfully disagreed in certain respects. I know a player can do whatever they want to do in their off time. I totally get that. All I was trying to say is that it's not a good look for a guy that just got $50 million in guarantees or from a new team to be talking about jobs that he's doing outside of football, because it's going to put even more pressure on him to produce. And if he goes awry in any way, he's not going to get any kind of latitude whatsoever. That's my concern with Josh Norman. Why would I be wrong in thinking that?
No, you're 100% right. And I think that's why the onus falls on Josh Norman to perform at a high level. Because now he's put a bigger target, a bigger bullseye, a bigger spotlight on himself that was already there. We already saw what's been going on in practice with Deshaun Jackson, getting the better half of him and winning a lot of those balls down the field. But more importantly, what I say is when I played in New York, I did multiple things. I was on Sirius Radio. I had WFAN every week. I had television spots.
Well, wasn't that after you earned it? Wasn't that after you earned your stripes with the particular team that you were with? Did you do that the first year you arrived in the nation's capital?
I had one. I had multiple. I didn't have multiple at that point. You're right. That did come later on down the road. But at the end of the day, look, guys do so many different business ventures. They have so many different things going off. We don't know what guys do Monday and Tuesday. Remember, that's their days off. You don't see these guys really. And I always say like this: my days to me that mattered in that locker room was what happened Wednesday through Saturday. And on Sunday, we're going to see if it was worth it. Did you do what you need to do? Did you prepare? Were you ready? Was you focused on that day to win your individual battle and help us as a team win? And I think until we see a game, week one, and see what happens with Josh Norman and how he plays with the Washington Redskins, I don't think we can sit here and jump on it. Now, what I'll say, the biggest problem in this whole situation is the communication. Because when I listen to certain pieces and hearing, readings and quotes from Josh Norman, it sounded like somebody in the organization knew, but it wasn't the head coach. And I'll be honest with you like this: I don't know how much the head coach needs to know. Does he need to know about that? He got somebody asked him a question about it, and he's like, "Well, I'm taken back by it." That guy's focused on football, right? And that's the head coach. That's all he should be focused on.
Oh my goodness, that's a good point. Antonio Pierce right here with Stephen A. Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio. I don't want to make you laugh, but I'm going to bring up this name anyway. Tim Tebow couldn't throw a football, But now he's talking about throwing baseballs.
Hey, man.
What's your reaction?
It's a little lighter, right? Hey, you got to figure it out, man. Put it like this. He's a great athlete. And I tell you, I even get this urge, too. I was watching Hard Knocks last night, man, and I got excited. I said, man, I want to be in that locker room again. I want to get on that field again. It's that competitive juice in you that never leaves. It don't matter how long you've been retired or how long you're out the game. And the guy who's competed at a very high level, won championships, had opportunities to be a first-round draft pick, play in a playoff game, win. He just wants to be part of a team. This guy wants to be in that locker room again, man. That's what I sense more than anything else. Do I think it's going to work out for them? I don't know. I just know like this. I remember I thought I was pretty good at Little League baseball, too. But I know if you put me in front of a pitcher right now, I'm not hitting that ball. I don't know. I can't tell you what a curveball look like or a screwball. I don't know. And you look at one of the greatest athletes of all time, at least that I've seen with my own eyes, was Michael Jordan and the struggles he had. And it's the same thing. So, I give it to him. God bless him. I thought he was doing a pretty good job at ESPN talking football. But if he wants to go out there and do it, at some point you gotta let that history of you being an athlete go.
You heard the news about Jeff Fisher for the Los Angeles Rams cutting one of his players for having a woman in his dorm room, right? You heard about that?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
You agree with that decision?
Was it a starter?
No, it was not.
Was he a draft pick?
I don't think so.
Well, then that tells you why. When you're in the league, I'm being honest, man. When you're in the league and you're undrafted and you're wire to wire, week to week, you have to do everything right and a little bit more. I'll be honest. If that was Todd Gurley, is that happening? No. Is it even being shown on TV? No.
So you know what I love about that? You're admitting what we all know, but so many people try to deny. Those who, it's like Jimmy Johnson said, those who produce will be treated differently than those who don't. Those who are valued will be treated differently than those who are not.
And that's the bottom line. And I say all the time, look, I thought I was a pretty good player. I thought I was respected within the organization of the Giants. But let me do something that was a little bit knocked off. What Strahan and me and Strahan did the same thing, or me and Tiki did the same thing. I know I fall. I got to fall on the sword. That's just how it is, man. And it don't matter what. I'm at ESPN. It's the same way. That's the business world. That again, pull back the curtain. That's the facts of it. And I think what it is a lesson learned. Hopefully, guys are watching. Is don't be stupid, man. It ain't worth it. 20 minutes, 30 minutes, it ain't worth it. Not for an opportunity that somebody else could come in, because at that time, when you got 90 guys on the roster and they're going to make cuts anyway, you want to have a chance to compete, to give yourself the best opportunity to be a pro football player.
I won't get on you about that 20-minute, 30-minute comment. Some of the fellas might get on you about that. We're talking to Antonio Pierce right here with Stephen A. Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio. Before I let you get on out of here, as preseason gets set to approach, what's the team you're looking forward to watching most, just out of curiosity to see what they're going to bring to the table?
I'll be honest, it's two teams, and I don't know if I can do it, but it's two teams we always talk about. It's the Cowboys and the Giants. With everything that's going on.
You had to mention the Cowboys, didn't you?
Yeah, because you know what? They always give you something to talk about. They do, not us. They do. If it's the running back, if it's off the field, if it's guys getting suspended, if the quarterback can stay healthy, it's them not having a backup quarterback that we can name that has NFL experience. So I'm looking to see, especially you're hearing maybe Tony Romo won't play this week. I want to see, well, who's that guy? What is your plan? What is your future? At some point, you got to have a plan B. You can sit there and knock on wood and pray that he doesn't get hurt again, but the fact of the matter is that's what he's been doing.
Is that one of the most egregious things about Jerry Jones, the fact that he's never got Tony Romo a quality backup?
It's amazing. I look at every team around the National Football League and watch practices and look at the roster, and you got to have a guy, man. You got to have a guy in his fifth, sixth year. It ain't about competing. It's about, man, I need another set of eyes. I need that guy to get pushed, or I need him to say something. You can't just sit here and say he sees everything because he's a good quarterback and he's probably the best quarterback they've had over the last 15 years, or only quarterback. But for him not to address that situation year in, year out, and the crazy part about Tony Romo being undrafted, and you look at his backups, he has an undrafted guy there and another draft pick. It's like, what are you doing? You're one play away from being 4-12 again, from 5-11. That's what's going to happen to you. You realize you're not going to win any games without that guy underneath center, and that's the matter of fact.
Antonio Pierce, appreciate you as always, my man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll talk to you later.
Okay, Steve.
Antonio Pierce for ESPN right here with Stephen A. Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio, 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. That's 888-623-3646. I'll get back to your phone calls and touch or get into Josh Norman a little bit more and Art Briles as well, former coach at Baylor University. That and more in a minute with Stephen A. I'm Mad Dog.
Whether it's college football or the NFL, SiriusXM is getting you ready for football by taking you to camp this summer. Tonight at 7 Eastern, NFL Radio Channel 88 takes you to Arizona Cardinals training camp. On the college side, College Sports Nation Channel 84 will be on the campus of the Washington Huskies tonight at 7 Eastern. The NFL Radio Training Camp Tour on Channel 88. It's called touchdown! The College Sports Nation Camp Tour on Channel 84.
623-3646. You know, I was talking about Molly. That's my host on First Take on ESPN 2 every weekday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. I was talking about Josh Norman for the Washington Redskins before Antonio Pierce came back on. Let me be very, very clear. Josh Norman is a good guy. I'm happy Josh Norman got his money. Josh Norman went through levels of trials and tribulations most NFL players don't necessarily have to go through to get to the point that he got to. Josh Norman is a star in this league. Who knows whether he can be a superstar? We're all happy he got his money. When you go and take a TV job, it's perfectly within his right to do so. My only issue with him taking that job is that you did it before you've done anything for the Redskins. You know, my only issue is perform first, at least to some degree. That's all I'm saying. Nobody's questioning his commitment. Nobody's questioning his focus. I'm saying the second things go awry, that's what they're going to do. They're going to question exactly those things about Josh Norman because they can. The critics that they are, the cynics that they are out there, that's just the way it's going to go down. But if he's cool with it, so be it. Now, let me get to another issue that's been percolating on my mind. Art Briles, former coach at Baylor, went to the Dallas Cowboys camp, and while there, spoke to the media, and both he and Jerry Jones, spoke about him glowingly, and he spoke about himself in positive ways. This is Jerry Jones on Art Briles. Remember, he was released at Baylor because of numerous transgressions on the part of players being accused of or convicted of sexual assault. And he just seemed to have be running a program that had run amok. And somebody had to pay. And obviously Art Briles ended up being that guy. I happen to believe that Art Briles, I've met him a few times, seems to be an incredibly nice man. He's not the one who sexually assaulted anybody. He's not the one who was convicted of or arrested of such crimes. That's not him. But being the head of the program, and with so many incidences taking place under your watch, it is believed that when you look at it from that standpoint, from that perspective, that Baylor was justifying in letting go of Art Briles. They should have let go of school president Kenneth Starr instead of taking some demotion and having him have some emeritus status within the university. Because when you have these kind of egregious acts taking place, heads have to roll and houses have to be cleaned. But evidently, Art Briles feels otherwise, as does Jerry Jones. This is Jerry Jones, head coach for the owner, president, GM for the Dallas Cowboys. Speaking about Art Briles, saying, I will vouch for him as a person. He's top quality as a person. I'd want my grandson, if he had the chance, to play for him. This is Jerry Jones. I'm just looking at a quote like that. Like, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? Briles visited practices and former players at Tennessee, Cincinnati, Cleveland, and watched the Rams work out Monday. Quote, it's been really good for me. It's hard at the same time. It's also what I love to do. I love to coach football. Asked if he will have to be more forthcoming about what happened at Baylor, he says that day will come. But he also spoke about how he fully expects to be a head coach again, that he expects to get another head coaching job soon. My point is, he may or may not deserve it, but the reality is that why are you speaking about it this way? Look, You got a player arrested for sexual assault in April of 2016. You got another player who transferred from Boise State to Baylor to play for Browns, accused of assaulting a Baylor soccer player. He was convicted of sexual assault in August 2015. Was sentenced to 180 days in jail and 10 years of probation. You got another guy who was sentenced to 20 years in prison for sexually assaulting 2 female students in 2012. 2 other women testified at this individual's trial. I think his name was Tevin Elliott, that he sexually assaulted them too. And one of Elliott's victims filed a federal lawsuit against Baylor for not protecting their Title IX rights. On March 30th, 2016, this is a month before another Baylor player was arrested, by the way. A person by the name of Jasmine Hernandez, a former Baylor University student who reported to campus officials that she had been raped by former Bears football player Tevin Elliott, filed that Title IX lawsuit against the university, claiming the school knew Elliott had a history of assaults, failed to protect her and other women, and ignored her when she sought help after her assault. The lawsuit also names head football coach Art Briles and details phone calls that Hernandez's mother and father made to Briles. They never received a return call from the coach or a follow-up from anyone at the university except the secretary, who said athletics officials, quote, "we're looking into it," end quote. These are all things under Art Briles' watch. Is he guilty of these things? No, that would be Tevin Elliott. But still in all, it was under your watch. How about some empathy? How about some sensitivity? What the hell are you talking about? How you shouldn't have lost your job and you'll get another job soon, as if everybody's going to ignore what happened on your watch. And if you're Jerry Jones, my God, could you connect yourself with something other than lawlessness for a change? Please, pretty please, with sugar on top. Could you do it, Jerry Jones? DUIs, theft, intoxicated manslaughter, PED use, one violation after another, and then Greg Hardy with the domestic violence. You just had Greg Hardy there last year. And you're going to turn around and brag about Art Briles as if he has no association with the transgressions that took place at Baylor? Of course he's not responsible for those villains. No, he didn't assault anybody. He didn't rape anybody. Nobody's accusing Art Briles of such a thing. But there is such a thing as leadership, sir. That doesn't mean you don't deserve to be a coach again. I wouldn't say that Art Briles doesn't deserve to be a head football coach. I wouldn't say that. You know what I would say? He damn sure don't deserve to be a college football coach. Let him be in the pros, where it's a business. And he gets to go about the business of just conducting business as opposed to watching over kids. Because Art Briles, for all intent and purposes, has not done a very good job of watching over kids. That's a fact. There's no way around that. His kids are violators of the law. Some of them cannot be escaped. And for Jerry Jones to sit there and in such nonchalant fashion praise this man, knowing that he's literally months removed from his job because of domestic violence, fresh off of you, adding Greg Hardy to your team, is the height of insensitivity. Period. EJ in Atlanta, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Stephen A., how you doing?
All right.
Just wanted to talk to you a little bit. Watch you on First Take all the time. Listen to you on Mad Dog whenever the opportunity arrives.
Thank you.
Just a couple things. I'm a New York Knicks fan. I'm a Yankee fan. I'm from New York, but I'm also a Cowboy fan. I respect your knowledge and I respect your opinions. It's just that sometimes I feel that you're a little too hard on Cowboys and Cowboy fans. And hear me out. The word fan, to me, is short for fanatic. We fans, we follow our teams with a passion. At least I do, Cowboys since 1970. It seems that you give a little bit too much undue pressure on Cowboys and Cowboy fans. I mean, look at Jerry Jones. I'm not condoning all the things he do. I don't condone all the actions and moves he's made. I don't condone the moves he's made on those guys that had some indiscretions in their lives. I do know that people deserve second chances. Even murderers get second chances. That I applaud him for. The Art Brown situation, I agree with you there. I don't think you should bash Jerry Jones on that. He was just giving a statement about a friend. However, he could have done it a different way. I do agree with that. But more importantly, to speak to my point, it's just that I feel that you bash the Cowboy fan a little bit too much. We're fanatic. We follow our team. That's what passionate people do.
My man, I'm a native New Yorker. I don't like y'all. I don't like Cowboys. I don't like the Cowboy fans. I think that y'all are delusional. I think that y'all are guys that somehow, some way, always come up with some rationale that says we're going to be okay. Y'all can be 1-15. Y'all going to wake up the next morning. We going to be all right. We going to win the Super Bowl championship. I think y'all are pathetic as a fan base. But that's all. But it's all in fun. It's all in fun. So Cowboy fans need to get over it because I'm not going to stop because that's how I feel. But I have fun. I have fun saying it. I have fun saying it. But on serious issues, I'm not playing. Like this Jerry Jones, Art Browse thing. No, I'm not joking. I would say that about anybody in Jerry's position who seems so nonchalant about what Art Browse was associated with.
I don't disagree with you there. It just seems that you give a little bit more attention to anything that, I mean, you always have, even on your show, and I watch you daily on First Take, we could be talking about the man in the moon, and somehow or another it always comes back to the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, stop that. That's bogus. I'm not accepting that from you. The fact of the matter is that the Dallas Cowboys make news. Like Antonio Pierce just talked about. They always do stuff to steal headlines, so I report what we see in the headlines and what we hear in the headlines. That is the reality. That's not going to change. Trust me. I'm not going to look for a reason to talk about the Cowboys. I don't have to. They give it to you all the time. They're the gift that keeps on giving, and you know it. Have a nice day. Scott in Pennsylvania, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
I can't believe it, man. I'm getting to talk to you.
What's going on, bro?
Hey, everything's great here, man. Hey, I wanted to say something about John Saunders. I'm 47 years old. I've been watching ESPN for a long time, and I just don't know how it's going to feel not having him around. It's going to be different. Going to be a lot different, just like it was different with Stu when he passed away. That was a major thing because I was really into the NBA and nobody covered basketball and nobody did their job, I thought, at Sports Center better than Stu did. But John, he was just into a class all to himself. I mean, he very much is a lot like you old school guys, you and Skip. And a few others like Mike and Mike. I mean, you're passionate about what you do. You come to work every day and you bring it. You bring your passion, you bring your knowledge, and you deliver it. And you give us fans something to think about besides the 9-to-5 job or the bills or the nagging kids and stuff like that. It's a great distraction. It really is. But these people that we put in our lives that give us this distraction, sometimes we just don't recognize how much of an important role, how much quality they give to our entertainment lives, you know? Yeah. So, it's going to be sad. And at the same time, it also reminds us, if there is somebody in your life that brings quality to your existence, let them know before it's too late. Let them know, because it never even occurred to me that the man was in bad health, and I can't.
Well, he was recovering, and that's what's so startling about it. With Stewart, we knew, and his battles with cancer were well documented and well known. John Saunders was at the National Association for Black Journalism conference last week. He and I were supposed to meet in the next couple of weeks for dinner or something. We kept rescheduling and what have you, and I just feel terrible because a part of you takes tomorrow for granted, and it's really something that we should never do if we could help it. Especially in this day and age, what we're noticing, how many people do we have to lose, particularly suddenly, before we remind ourselves tomorrow is not guaranteed. It can be over just like that because God comes calling when he comes.
Absolutely. One other thing, this Art Browse, this whole thing, there's a difference when an athlete can do something that doesn't necessarily reflect on a coach, on a team, on an organization, on an institution. There's certain things that they do, stupid stuff. But then there are things that hint to an institutional problem. You look at Penn State, obviously. You said a walking definition. There you go. That's it. You talk about the deal with Baylor. To some extent, some of the stuff that has gone on up in Louisville with Rick Pitino, who I deeply respect. But these are all things that a head coach or a prominent figure within the school, within these kids' lives, because let's face it, they're still kids. Nobody's there to take responsibility. And that is depressing. And in this day and age,
Art Browse was supposed to be
media,
there. Art Browse was supposed to be there. And see, here's the thing. Here's the thing. He's there, Scott, right? Listen, he could have slipped up. But you know how you make up for that? By putting forth your due diligence and making sure parents of alleged victims aren't documented as picking up the phone to call you, and they can't even get a return phone call. Stuff like that simply cannot happen. It can't happen.
Yeah, you cannot have an indifferent attitude to issues today of anything like that, especially since we have so much 24/7 media and social social media. When is the light going to go off? Not just for the head coaches, but for these kids who don't understand that they have such an enormous opportunity.
Scott, I've got to run. I appreciate the call, but I totally get where you're coming from. I understand it, and I appreciate the call more than you know. Thank you so much. 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. That's 888-623-3646. More of your phone calls in a minute with Stephen A. on Mad Dog. From a Candlewood Suites hotel guest, Dana from room 406 wrote, "Hey guys, thanks for lending me the crock pot. I used it to make my favorite chili." You're welcome, Dana. Make sure you bring some down next time, all right? Even with a full kitchen, you're not expected to pack a blender, toaster oven, or, a crock pot. That's why Candlewood Suites has everything from small kitchen appliances to board games for you to borrow at any time. If you're ready for all the basics you'd expect, plus a genuine staff always willing to help, book your next stay with Candlewood Suites. Find out more at candlewoodssuites.com. Candlewood Suites. True, genuine people. 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. That's 888-623-3646. Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Bo in California. You're live at Stephen A. on Mad Dog. Bo, good afternoon.
Hey, what's going on, Stephen A? Hey, 3 quick points, man, and I'm going to get out of the way. One, the passing of John Saunders, man, just kind of floored me because I don't know who I'm going to watch on Saturdays when college football come on, but I had an idea. I've been thinking about this since the passing of Stuart Scott, and I never really mentioned it until today, but I think the perfect candidate to take one of those guys' spots, man, would be you, hands down. Secondly, I think that with the Art Brown situation that's going on, the Art Brown situation with Art
Brown and Baylor in Dallas. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing is you're seeing Jason Garrett's successor. I think either Art Browse is going to be on that coaching staff. Like he said, he'll be back working in October or November. I think, with the relationship that him and Jerry Jones have, I think basically he's going to be on that coaching staff.
Well, let me say this to you.
Coaching the team.
Let me say this to you. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. You know why? Because He didn't commit sexual assault. He hasn't committed any crimes. He's not somebody that should be out of a job. Art Briles deserves to be a football coach. It's just debatable as to whether or not he should be a college football coach because they're kids. And the responsibility that comes along with coaching them is far deeper than it is coaching professionals who are paid to do a job as opposed to kids playing for your program. So I think that's just the way to look at it. I don't have a problem with Art Briles being a coach. I don't have problems with him coaching Jerry Jones' Dallas Cowboys. What I have a problem with is the nonchalance with which they talk about it. It's like, they act like they had nothing to do with it, or, in Briles' case, like he had nothing to do with it, or in Jerry Jones' case, he acts like it's not a big deal. It's a very big deal, and they should treat it with the sensitivity that it deserves.
That's the culture of Jerry Jones, though, and that's the culture.
And that's why I said something
in Dallas. That basically, like you and Max Kellerman was saying. And by the way, man, y'all killing it.
Thank you, man.
Like y'all was saying this morning, it's like they're above the law, above societal law. That basically, I can do whatever I want, and that's basically the mentality that some of these wealthy individuals have. Like, basically, I can do what I want. Who's going to stop me? And so I think that's what you see with them displaying with all of the things that is going on in the Dallas Cowboys organization.
We see that to some degree with the election. With the presidential election, people can say and do what they want to do because of money. No question about that.
Exactly. And my last point before I get out of here, man, I think Ray Rice, and kind of follow me on this, I kind of compare Ray Rice to a guy that's locked up, that keeps going before the parole board, who's done everything, changed his life around, but the parole board keeps denying it. He keeps getting denied because of how egregious, as you say, his act was. And I think because there's no video evidence of anybody else, I think he is the poster boy for, for what he's going through right now. But basically, in reality, his second chance has really already been granted because he's not locked up. He didn't lose his wife or his
Well, stop right there. Stop right there. The NFL is a private industry. They don't have to do anything. So you say, when you talk about that, you got to remember, they don't have to do anything. I got to go, Bo. I appreciate the call, but they really don't have to do anything. We just both think they should. Let's go to Broderick in Nashville. You're live with Stephen A. on Mad Dog. Broderick, good afternoon.
Hey, Stephen A. Hey, man, how you doing?
All right, man. Thank you for calling.
Hey, man, I'm a long-time fan, man. I love the show, man. First take, start by saying that, man. I just love seeing you on anything, man. Just want to hear what you got to say, but I'm going to be short, Stephen A., man. I just feel like, man, you could just give the Cowboy fans a break, man. Just give us a break, man, You know
what? I got to admit, Broderick, let me tell you something. Would you Cowboys fans do me a favor, please? Seriously, I'm being serious now, okay? Will y'all stop taking it so seriously? No, I can't stand y'all. But let me tell you what I mean when I say I can't stand y'all, right? That don't mean I hate y'all and I don't want to be around y'all. Like, I would like to come to a Dallas Cowboy game and hang out with a bunch of Cowboy fans just to get on y'all nerves when they lose. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. It's all in fun, man. Y'all are just y'all just contributing to my disdain for y'all even more because now y'all coming across as a bunch of babies. Y'all, what's the big deal? So what? You know what? And like, wouldn't you laugh at me if the Cowboys were winning? Would you laugh at me?
People just can't stand that how loyal we is, even though we have bad seasons.
Well, stop right there. I asked you a question. Wouldn't you laugh at me if the Cowboys were winning because of how much I can't stand the Cowboys? Wouldn't you laugh at me? Wouldn't you have fun laughing at me because it would be killing me to watch y'all win? It's all in fun. Y'all are taking it too seriously. You act like I want Cowboys to get arrested or get run over by a car or something. Y'all are taking it too serious. I'm a native New Yorker. So what? That's right. So win, and maybe I'll stop laughing. Goodbye. Win, and I'll stop laughing. Edwin in Tennessee, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Stephen A., good afternoon. And real quick, I believe that Ray Rice should just leave it as where it is. I think he should work on trying to work with the NFL or any teams to be like a mentor, like on the sidelines, but not as a running back, because I believe there's some guys that they've been waiting their chance to play that position.
Edwin, let me tell you what's unfair about what you're saying. The dude ain't even 30 yet, bro. Come on, man. You know, what's he supposed to do? Give up on his dream before he's 35 years old? Why? If he can still play and he has a chance, why shouldn't he investigate it? Now, if he can't, they won't give him a chance. They won't give him a chance. But you saying like he should just give up because he made that mistake, so he should wallow in it the rest of his life. You can't expect Ray Rice to think that way, Edwin. That's not fair.
Well, I look at it like this because my mom was abused, and I know there's a lot of people that have mothers that are abused out there. And the last thing you want to see on a Sunday night when you want to get away from everything is a guy that hit a woman. And I think it's not fair for those people.
Whoa. Did you watch the Cowboys last year?
I think they need to clean up the NFL.
No, that's not what. I'm sorry, I didn't ask you that. I asked you a direct question. Did you watch the Cowboys last year?
Yes.
Did you watch the Cowboys last year knowing that Greg Hardy was on the team?
I watched everything because
all right, so stop right there. Stop right there. Then it wasn't the last thing you wanted to see, was it?
Stephen A., it's just that it needs to start somewhere as an example.
Yeah, but wait a minute. I'm not trying to sit up here and condone what he did. Don't interpret it like that. What I'm saying is the man has apologized profusely. He's tried to correct himself to the best of his ability. And the woman that this happened with married him. And there's never been another incident since. Why at age 29, 30 years of age should he give up on his dream if he's done everything to turn his life around?
Well, because opportunity comes once in a lifetime.
That's not true. That's not true. Sometimes it comes twice. You're talking to one. ESPN was a dream job for me. I got let go in 2009. Guess who's back?
Yeah,
guess who's back?
You didn't hit a woman, Stephen A.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying I'm addressing your point. Look, do you not recall what you yourself said out your own mouth? You said opportunity comes once in a lifetime. I said no, it doesn't. Sometimes it comes twice. This is my second opportunity.
I know your point, but I'm saying right now it needs to start somewhere. And I think his example should show ones that are coming up. Say, listen, if you do this. Well, this is what's going to happen because we don't want to hear this again. It just destroys the whole thing of the NFL. Every time we watch the NFL, we're watching these news.
Your point has been taken. Have a good day. Your point has been taken. You're not one to forgive. Bottom line. I understand. Joe in Texas, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Stephen A., I'll tell you what, you get Cowboy Nation riled up. You get me so riled up, I have to call in your show, man. It's getting nuts. I'm driving up and down the highway, making U-turns left and right, listening to you, down the Cowboys, hate on Cowboy fans. Oh, my goodness, Stephen A., I love you, but I tell you what, that's why the South will rise again.
Hey, are you ready for this, Zach? Are you ready for this? My man, Darren Woodson for ESPN, former Dallas Cowboy, he says he's going to bring me to a Dallas Cowboy game to watch the game in Jerry Jones' suite. Okay? He's serious. He's serious. I told him if he could pull that off, not only will I show up, but I will come out and hang out with Dallas Cowboy fans at a tailgate party. Y'all have my word. Y'all have my word. I will show up. Because it's all in fun, man. I just can't stand y'all. I can't stand the Dallas Cowboy fans. Y'all make me sick. But I mean that affectionately. It's not venom. I just can't stand y'all. Because y'all are delusional. Everything with y'all, y'all gonna win the Super Bowl this year, ain't y'all? Tell the truth, Joe. That's what you think. Y'all fresh off a 4-12 season, and y'all gonna win the Super Bowl this year. That's what you thinking, ain't it?
Well, with the healthy Romo,
see what I'm trying to say? See what I'm trying to say? That's y'all. That's why y'all make me sick. Unrealistic, delusional. Y'all unbelievable. That's why I can't stand Cowboy fans. But I love messing with y'all. It's a lot of fun. And I'm telling you right now, if Darren Woodson pulls it off, the people who come up with the best idea for me at a tailgate party, I'm going to show up to their tailgate party. Yes, I am. My producer's looking at me like, what the hell are you doing? Why would you do this? But I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, Joe. I'm going to show up to a tailgate party for the Dallas Cowboys game. I'm going to do it.
We're going to put you on our shoulders. We're going to take you into the Cowboy Stadium.
Hey, I'm going to have a ball, man. I'm going to have a ball. I appreciate it, man. Zach in Minnesota, you're live with Stephen A. on Mad Dog. Zach, what's up?
Hey, Stephen A. First time caller. Love your show. First take, everything.
Thank you.
I'm a junior college coach, so, I'm going to take a different perspective with Art Riles is, every day we take kids that have questionable backgrounds, and, we kind of draw the limit of, sexual assault or, we try to stay away from kids from, with drugs. Yep. But, the thing with him is that the society is, for a coach, you got to win to keep your job. And the schools and the presidents will take their money, but they won't take the kids with them. And I think it's kind of sad that that's how the way the world works. But, what he did was he didn't clean up a lot of his act. He let kids just run around amok and not be the leader of them. And it's kind of sad to see that. But Jerry Jones should not have him there condoling him and, speaking up for him, because that's not the way he should act. But Jerry Jones has lost his mind, so I'm okay with that.
I got you. I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. Jim in Arizona, you're live with Stephen A. on Mad Dog. What's up, Jim?
Stephen A., thanks for taking my call.
Real quick, buddy, you got a lot of wind in your car, too. Go ahead.
Oh, listen, I was just wondering, he's been arguing about two things, about Sugar Ray Leonard over Floyd Mayweather, yes or no? And if you were picking a point guard, would you take Allen Iverson over Westbrook?
I would take Westbrook because as great as Allen Iverson was, Westbrook is the same player except taller and even more athletic. So I would take Westbrook over Allen Iverson because Westbrook is not as much of a defensive liability. He's just as athletic, if not more so offensively. I would take Westbrook.
Would you take Sugar Ray in his prime? Do you think Sugar Ray could beat Floyd?
Yes.
Mayweather?
Yes. Yes. Okay. I think if Floyd beat him, Floyd would win by decision. But Sugar Ray was very fast and very powerful and more vicious. So I would say that I think that Sugar Ray could have beaten Floyd. Yes. Now, Floyd, to his credit, thinks I should be drug tested for that. He don't believe anybody could beat him. Just so you know. It's only fair that I put that out there. This is Stephen A. Smith. About to get on out of here. I started the show off by talking about the passing of my friend John Saunders, ESPN analyst, colleague, a friend, a big brother, father figure, to a lot of people I can imagine, but most certainly to me. My heart's been heavy today. I want to thank all the listeners out there for hanging with me over the last 2 hours. It's been pretty tough. But y'all pulled me through, and I really, really appreciate it. I loved this man dearly. He was a very, very special man in so many ways, a pioneer in this industry to so many of us, a counselor and an advisor, and an all-purpose television asset in so many different ways. 30 years he was here at ESPN, responsible for so many great things that have transpired with this network and the Walt Disney family. To his lovely wife, Wanda, to his two wonderful daughters, we're going to miss you. My condolences to him and his family. Love you, big brother. Talk to y'all in 22 hours. Peace and love.
Morning Men with Evan and Babchick.
Why is there a lifeguard on duty during Olympic events?
Wouldn't you think Olympic swimmers should be able to just swim?
The lifeguard, as he's watching